Hello, this is episode 24 of the Movie Burner podcast, the weekly podcast from Movie Burner Entertainment, where we discuss the latest entertainment news, reviews and share our views. So what's up first, John?
The second trailer has released for DeadPool 2, and what a trailer it was, Stephen, and we are going to basically break down the trailer and give our thoughts and discuss it. I said to you yesterday, I think it's up there with one of the best trailers I've ever seen for a film. Just hilarious, so many gags, so many amazing moments in there. But I digress, Stephen. Over to you.
Yeah, John, I think if I wasn't excited about this film, I am now after watching that trailer. I'd even go as far to say that although we're only in March, I think this is going to be one of my favourite trailers of the year. I had my doubts when Tim Miller stepped away from, the franchise after the successful original movie, which is one of my favourite superhero movies of all time. After seeing this trailer, I just can't wait to see it now.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Just everything about the trailer was momentous. That opening with that All Out of Love Air Supply song playing out, and you see Wade Wilson rounding the corner in that alleyway and bombing towards the Pinder in the taxi, and he's screaming, and he's obviously got the earphones in and listening to the music, and just the way he's running full pelt, you can tell he's really going for it, and then jumping through that window. It was just hilarious, man, and the back and forth between the two characters as well. He was obviously in the first film, and it's nice to see he's going to be getting a bigger role going forward in the second one. Certainly looks as though he's stepping out the taxi in a couple of points, so maybe he's going to be leaving. And then I think, moved to Japan or something, a Japanese set. I think that's a clear reference to how big this film is in Japan. It's very successful over there, they love it. I think there's a bit of decapitation going on there. And it's just the back and forth, the whole chit-chat of the characters, the dialogue, and the swear words. That's just synonymous with DeadPool now. They are rated swearing and foxicles and all the rest of it. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it's one thing, that a lot of people had concerns over, John, was when Disney took over the Fox brand, if you like, will we see a toned-down version of the original? I think that's been put to bed now after seeing this trailer. And just that entrance from Cable, and Deadpool's reaction, as you said, was, just classic Deadpool.
What in the foxicles?
Yeah, it's just, and he looks great as well as a I was going to say villain, but obviously you'll go into it more in depth when we're talking about X-Force, John, that Josh Brolin is playing this character. And I said it could perhaps be very much like Netflix Marvel television series The Punisher, where I think, going back probably a year or so ago when the character was introduced on Netflix in the trailers, he was portrayed as a villain, and as it transpired that he wasn't the main villain in the second series of Daredevil. So we'll get into that in a little moment anyway, but just moving on, just looking at the trailer, some great fight sequences as well, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, that boiler suit thing, that's quite interesting, because actually the kid that Cable's chasing in this, I think he's a bit of a time travelling character. He's able to go back and forward in time. I don't know if he can manipulate time, I don't think he can, but certainly he's came forward in time and he's looking for this kid. He's wearing the same yellow boiler suit with that strange sort of a neck thing going on. It reminded me of Suicide Squad. So maybe there's a connection between the kid and Deadpool, I don't know. As I says, I don't read comics, I need to get that sorted so I can arm myself with some knowledge, but that kid looks interesting. He was flicking the finger in the trailer, and then you've got Negasonic Teenage Warhead in there. I think she actually gets her nose booked at one point, so that was funny as well. But I'm fascinated by the array of characters that are popping up in this. I've actually wrote in my notes that this kind of resembles an X-Men version of an Avengers Light or a Captain Civil War Light. You've got all these mutant characters, new characters popping up. Obviously you've got the X-Force stuff, Cable, and the original ones from Deadpool that are returning. So there's just a whole host of interesting characters popping up here too, and Negasonic's certainly one of them.
They do certainly look like they're going down that road. It seems to be a universe within, a cinematic universe, if you like.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, some of the topics we're going to talk about in a wee while, John, are going down that road as well.
Yeah.
But, just looking, further on in the trailer and getting to see all these characters, as you said, I can't help but laugh when I see the old lady, the blind old lady. Every time I see her popping up in this trailer, it just kills me.
But was it her that says, I can't understand you with that pity dick in your mouth or something like that? That was just a hilarious moment again. perfectly captures the feel, the humour, and just the amazing obscenity-laden dialogue in these films, man. It was just, that was hilarious. And then you've got Wade spinning about and kind of giving Charles Xavier's wheelchair a whirl around the X-Mansion, so that was a great moment as well. There's something about that character, just when he's not got a suit on and he's all disfigured and burnt, it's just, he looks absolutely maniacal. And then we've got Terry Crews popping up as well. I didn't realise he was in there. Terry Crews is a guy close to my heart because he always resembles, to me, one of my uncles from another family, if you'd like. He's not related, but yeah, I class him as an uncle, and he's the absolute spit of him. And he's playing another interesting character, which we'll get into later when we go into the whole X-Force thing. But it's always great to see Terry Boy in there. And then we've got another interesting character, the Asian lady with the purple hair, which again, it's a bit of a prevailing theme early on in this discussion of the trailer, but Shiola Kutsana, I believe her name is, she's playing another X-Force character, which I don't have on me at the moment because we're not getting into that conversation at the moment, but I will break into that later on. I've got a couple of little things on these characters.
I noticed Bill Skarsgård was in the trailer as well, John, very briefly. I don't think he's actually been credited with a name yet in the film, a character's name. One thing I'll say about the marketing of this sequel, it's been first class. All these little teaser trailers, the Bob Ross one, I think that's the one that stands out for most people.
Yeah, that's epic.
It's just been marketed the correct way. I think when the original director came off it, I think there was a lot of doom and gloom merchants out there, were predicting this film was going to fail. Doesn't look like it's going to fail. Everything I've saw from the promotion, even Ryan Reynolds on social media, anyone that's not following has to follow this guy. He's absolutely hilarious, and he's so invested in the character. If you go on his Twitter account, that's all he talks about. He just loves playing this character, Wade Wilson, DeadPool, and I just can't wait to see it now.
Yeah, we were just talking about Ryan Reynolds prior to coming on there, Stephen, how both of us weren't big fans of him prior to the DeadPool franchise kicking in. I can't believe the change in reaction I've got towards him. I just think the guy's hilarious now. He's dead charismatic as well when you see interviews with him, just his whole manner. He's some man.
I just think, when an actor stays in his comfort zone for too long, it does irritate me at times. Leonardo DiCaprio was a classic example of that, right up to probably, the last 10 years or so. And he's one of my favourite actors now. I can't believe I'm saying that. 10 years ago I just wouldn't have said something like that. Ryan Reynolds is in the same boat. He was very famous for his romantic comedies. He did some, offbeat comedies as well, but he was always labelled with that genre. What a turnaround for this guy, and he plays the character so well. We got a little taste of him in X-Men Origins, the Wolverine film, about 10 years ago, playing the same character, and it was just annoying in it. It was just, I don't know, the whole film didn't work for me, but I just didn't like his character in that one. But it seems to fit the feel to this film and this franchise. It's just can't wait to see it now.
Yeah, I mean, that portrayal in the origin story, Stephen, I think that was more of a, I don't know, it wasn't faithful to the comics. I think this one that he's now doing is more faithful to the comics, and that's why a lot of people are coming on board and enjoying it more. Certainly, just touching back to what he says about it being a success, I don't think it's going to flop at all. There was a couple of different reports saying that the early screenings were getting below average ratings compared to the original, and then there was another report saying that they're getting much higher ratings and they were coming out with quite a high approval rating. Certainly, I think that seems to be the correct story, although there was a slight rumour that there was 2 different variations of the film hitting these screenings. Don't know if there's any truth in that or not, but certainly the prevailing consensus seems to be now that it's getting higher ratings than the original, so that only bodes well for it. But just all the little gags in the trailer as well. Some of the gags are incredible. He's having digs at just about everything. Superman's in there with just that little comment about the gloating. I was rounding all the gloating up in the world and launching it into space when it can't not hurt us ever again. That was a dig at Superman, clearly. Superman 4, that horrendous Nuclear Man one. The
Quest for Peace.
The Quest for Peace. I've never seen it, Stephen, but I've seen the videos on YouTube. I think it was on his trailers destroying it. That was enough for me. And there's other digs. He's having a dig at his wife, one of the films she was in. I believe it was Sisterhood of the Travelling Pants, and he's calling it pure pornography. They like to have a little back and forth digs at each other, so that was great. And then, of course, you've got that moment in the middle of the trailer as well, Stephen, where more series films perhaps like to flash up the studio that brought you. And this one, they're saying the studio that brought you 27 Dresses and The Devil Wears Prada. I mean, I just don't know any other franchise or film that likes to poke fun at things the way this does. It's just so many great moments in there. There was another bit where Ryan Reynolds was slagging himself off for a previous film with the All Out of Love. That was from a film he was in back in 2002. So many funny moments. He's playing guitar in that film, and it's terrible. He's talking about getting hit with a metaphorical truck or something, and then he gets hit in this trailer with a truck. That was another hilarious moment. I had to watch that 4 or 5 times.
I'm happy to see Josh Brolin in there as well, John. He's such a versatile actor, and he just brings presence to the screen. You know, I'm looking forward to seeing him playing Thanos next month in Infinity War. But the problem, obviously, with that is we don't actually get to see him. You know, very similar to when we see Mark Ruffalo, you know, predominantly in Thor Ragnarok as the Hulk. We don't really get to see a lot of Ruffalo, and it's the same for Brolin playing the character Thanos. So it's good to see we're actually going to physically see him in this movie. And when you think who was up for this role of Cable, Brad Pitt was in there, I think, with Michael Shannon, which would have been interesting. I think Russell Crowe was tied to it as well. I just can't think of anyone else could play this role. And just judging on the trailer, certainly I think they've made the right choice. Also, the announcement of Deadpool 2 came a few days before the actual release of the original film, which was quite surprising. You don't normally hear that. You know, a sequel being released, being announced before the original film's released. So much so the studio's confidence in this franchise, and it's a long time coming. I think it's been 2 years since that was announced, and we're not that far away from it now.
Yeah. I agree about Brolin. I just think he's a fantastic actor. He's been in so many great films. Loved him in Sicario. I think he's a tremendously varied actor, and you just see he's popping up in all these big villain roles in different franchises. And just the character of Cable himself, he looks amazing. I agree, going back to what you says earlier about the Punisher. He looks like one of those kind of a complicated greyish type villains. He's not quite black and white, good or bad. He looks in between. Looks very interesting. I love the whole metal arm thing. He beats the shit out of Wade in the middle of the trailer, puts him on his back. That was amazing.
Reynolds and Brolin seem to have a good relationship as well. They seem to be going back and forth on social media, you know, winding each other up. And I don't know if you saw the picture. I think it was for Josh Brolin's birthday. It was an image of Deadpool. Cable was posing, and Deadpool was painting a picture of him, but he painted it in the picture of Brolin's character in the Goonies. It's an absolute, you need to see this, it's absolutely amazing. And it's just a banter between both of them. You know, they seem to have had a good experience with each other on set, and I think it's obviously spilled onto social media now. But we'll see what the outcome of the character is by the end of the film anyway, whether or not he survives onto the next film or not. But certainly, from what I've seen, I hope he does, because he does look like a good character. And Deadpool is released on the 15th of May in the cinemas. I'm certainly looking forward to it. It's not that far away now, John.
It isn't, no. Yeah, well, just touching on that, Stephen, I'll quickly go into the whole X-Force chat. And he actually does say, I think he says in an interview with Collider, which I've got the quote here, that I think we're not trying to hide the fact that this is the beginning of Cable and absolutely not the end. He says when we finally get into X-Force, you're going to be with this guy full blown all the time. There's a lot to be revealed. So certainly that looks like he is going to see out the film, which I'm glad about, because I do, as I said, like Brolin. And it's very interesting where they're going with the whole X-Force thing. How this is going to play into the Deadpool character, I don't know. We were just touching upon this before we come on, Stephen, where it actually says Cable is the dominant figure in the X-Force group in the comics. So don't know whether Deadpool's going to be coming in and having little cameos in these X-Force films that are a kind of an offshoot, or whether he's going to be a permanent fixture alongside Cable. But certainly this X-Force film as well looks amazing, which of course is kind of getting buffed here. You're seeing all these characters coming in, and one of the quotes in the trailer from Deadpool actually says, "I need them tough, morally flexible and young enough to carry their own franchise for 10 to 12 years. That's kind of a self-awareness, breaking the fourth wall thing that I love about this, and certainly he's doing that to introduce this new film as well, so that was cool. But some of the characters, I've got a couple of little notes here on the individual characters. Apparently they're getting introduced. Domino's one, who is like a luck manipulating mercenary. And then you've got Bedlam, as I said earlier, played by Terry Crews. He's able to control electromagnetic fields, whilst also increasing and decreasing a person's receptors. You've got Surge. That's the Asian character played by Shula Kutsana. She's basically a chain-waving, purple-haired mystery woman. And she's a Japanese mutant who has electricity-based powers as well. So I think she has to use some sort of a metal chain to control the electricity. And finally, the other character is actually Bill Skarsgård's character, Zeitgeist, who is a guy that pukes up stuff that can eat through nearly anything. So that is certainly a very interesting power. I've never seen that one getting used before, but certainly these mutant characters tend to come up with interesting powers. They look an interesting bunch, and this looks like an interesting film. Certainly they want to be going down the R-rated route with this as well. I've seen comments from Ryan Reynolds, Brolin, and a couple of other people saying they really want to go down the R-rated route with this. It's going to be like a Black Ops of the X-Men. They're going to be much darker and have an R-rated decibel, so I can't wait to see DeadPool. And obviously this offshoot from DeadPool, which is getting buffed here in X-Force, so the future's definitely bright for the whole mutant verse thing and where it's all going to interconnect.
And just moving on now, this is a bit of news that was that broke last week. I think it was just after we did our last recording, John.
Yeah.
And this was Tessa Thompson to reunite with Chris Hemsworth for new Men in Black. The Hollywood Reporter brings word that a Thor Ragnarok reunion is in the works, as co-star Tessa Thompson is in talks to join Chris Hemsworth in the upcoming Men in Black reboot. Plot details for the film are scarce, but the film is set to take place in London and centres around a new combination of characters and is more of an ensemble film than a duo like the first three movies. Now, just before I hand this over to you, John, that was one of the things I enjoyed about Thor Ragnarok, was these two actors.
Yeah.
I thought they had great chemistry in the film. The same level of humour. They seem to understand each other. I think they could work in this. Now, I've got to make it clear though, since this report came out, I have heard other reports that it's not a reboot.
Yeah.
But it's another take, if you like.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't want to see a reboot. It's kind of a too soon, isn't it? It's only about 15 years after the original. I can't remember when the original came out. It was around about the late 90s, wasn't it? But I've got great memories watching the Men in Black films. I went to see all of them in their cinematic releases. I remember being a young boy and watching the first two. I think we actually went together to see Men in Black 3. And they kind of went off in that direction where, obviously Will Smith was in there, but they kind of cast off the Tommy Lee Jones character. Name forgets me at the moment, the character name. But there's scope and space to do something new with the story and have new characters and have it in the same universe. And that's the way I would like to see them going down, where you can maybe point back to Will Smith's character. You could maybe even pop up in a cameo, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's been written and they're quite steadfast in that they don't want Will Smith. Maybe they don't want him, but Will Smith isn't going to make an appearance, which is a shame. I'd love to have seen him coming in. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you about Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth. Their chemistry in Ragnarok was palpable. It was there to see. It was great. They had some brilliant comedic moments with each other. She was kind of slapping his character down at numerous points throughout the film. I think she had a drunken entrance as well, where she came out the ship and tried to appear fierce and a little bit intimidating, and then she kind of fell off, but she did wipe the floor with him anyway. That was great. And then I think there was a moment obviously where Thor smacks himself in the head with a ball and kind of tries to play it off as if he meant it. But they had great moments with each other in that film, and that is one of the positives I'm taking for this, because certainly Chris Hemsworth is a guy, I think he's a great guy. He's brilliant off screen, he's quite charismatic, funny, down to earth. He is a good actor, as you see in Thor, but certainly outside the Thor franchise he's not in the best of times. You can't see his films have been all that successful. There was one where it was Moby Dick or something, wasn't it? Related, that didn't do well. I think there was a Snow White and something film, I can't remember. That maybe gives you an idea of how bad it was. I can't even remember the name. So he's not the best of luck, so maybe him on his own would have been a bit But with Tessa Thompson coming on and knowing the great chemistry and the fact that they do work together well, that's certainly a positive. It's a bit of a catch for the studio, and certainly from what I've read, it's going to be 3 main leading roles in the film, so this is probably 2 of the leading roles filled, if indeed the reports are true. And I think they're saying they're looking to round it out with a diverse cast, so that third leading role can go to anybody really. Could be male, female, three-headed, I don't know. Well, maybe it'll be purple hair to appease people, Stephen.
Well, it could be three-headed because it does involve aliens anyway, so that could be the third lead. But no, Chris Hemsworth, we've seen the humour that he can bring to a movie. I didn't see him in Ghostbusters as the receptionist. It was a film I didn't see. I did hear bad reports about the film in general, but that was one of the things I enjoyed about Ragnarok, was that the tone of it was different from the previous two movies. I enjoyed the first one, not so much the Dark World. I loved the original Men in Black back in 1997. I thought Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith brought a good chemistry to the screen. Tommy Lee Jones has always had that dry wit in most of the films he's in anyway, and Will Smith is just Will Smith. He's the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. But there's a possibility that Will Smith doesn't want to do it anyway. He did turn down Independence Day 2 or whatever it was called. I can't remember.
Wise decision.
So he's on to other things. He's moved on. I didn't so much like the sequels, I've got to be honest. The second one isn't that memorable to me. The third one, I just remember Josh Brolin was doing a very good impression of Tommy Lee Jones, which was okay. But the first film, for its time, really did stand out to me. It was one of my favourite films of the 1990s. Will Smith's sort of singing career came back after playing the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air with Jazzy Jeff in the early 90s. He came back as himself, as a more respective artist, and that was on the back of that film. And the new untitled Men in Black film is set to be directed by F. Gary Gray, who did Straight Outta Compton, The Fate of the Furious, and has been written by Matt Holloway and Art Markham from Iron Man and Transformers. The original franchise producers Walter Parkes and Laurie MacDonald are back, along with executive producer Steven Spielberg.
Yes, Mr. Spielberg's involved, although probably, as you said, executive producing, so how much of a sway is he going to have, I don't know. Gary Gray, Straight Outta Compton was a great film. I've not seen Fate of the Furious because I'm not a big fan of it. I've seen the first maybe 2 or 3 of those films, fell away from it completely, but certainly it was a success, so you can't really argue with that. Out with that, he's not really done anything that I know of anyway. That's an interesting choice. It'll be very interesting to see how that plays out. But yeah, I mean, Holloway and Markham, who have scripted this film apparently, have says they're going to be looking to go down the route of a sort of a Jurassic World, where it's kind of a polishing up and making it a more global scale than what the previous 2 films were. So that's very positive. Don't know much about those 2 guys' work, I can't lie. But as I say, Stephen, the 2 main actors we've got announced for this are reported as being announced. Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth is a big boon for this film. Tessa Thompson's a great actress. She was amazing in Creed, outstanding in Thor Ragnarok. She was criminally underused in a film that I watched recently, Annihilation, which I did enjoy. It was a very Natalie Portman driven film though. And interestingly enough, Annihilation, there was an alien character. Maybe I shouldn't say that because that's kind of a spoiler if you've not seen it, but Oscar Isaac's character plays Natalie Portman's husband in it. He comes back and he has a scene where he's just completely spaced out, not right at all, drinking water, and it reminded me, and I actually remember mentioning this at the time, of Men in Black, the first one when Vincent D'Onofrio's alien hillbilly characters going on about sugar, more sugar. That just popped into my head there. So, but I digress. Yeah, Tessa Thompson, great boon. Very excited for this film. It'll be interesting to see what the story's like, who that third leading role's going to be filled by, and who else comes on board for it. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it, Stephen.
I've got to be honest, John, when I first heard this announcement, I wasn't. I just thought that the franchise should be, just laid to rest. Yeah. It's not been that long. You're talking 6 years since the last film. Although I think financially it did very well. I think it actually, did better than the previous 2, the original and the second film. But I just thought that, with Barry Sonnenfeld, who was the director of all 3 films, I don't think he's attached to this project in any way. Could be a good thing, a fresh approach. But I do like the idea that it's not going to be a straight reboot.
Yeah.
I think that, the way they're going to have this with sort of 3 leads, probably all playing off each other. You'll have your supporting cast as well. If they take it in a different direction, yes, it could work. But I've got to be honest, when I did first read the headline, I thought, oh no, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, the reboot, one final thing I'll say on the reboot, we actually touched upon this a couple of weeks back when Paul King was in talks, or rumoured to be in talks about doing the new Willy Wonka film. They very rarely work these reboots of successful original films. It just doesn't work. So the route they were talking about going down was going and doing a prequel type thing, or maybe doing a side story in the same universe. That's what you want to be doing with these type of films. But I digress, Stephen. We're moving on swiftly. And the next topic we have got is news on a potential new Matrix film, which has been on off for a number of years now. I think this has been going on for about 4 or 5 years. I think it's Zak Penn who's really pushing to make this happen. I don't know what you make of this, Stephen. Depending on which route they go with this, I may be interested. And depending on another route they go, I may not be interested.
Yeah, I mean, this was billed as another reboot as well, but I think it has been cleared that it's not going to be a reboot.
Yeah.
This was a year ago. It was reported that Warner Brothers was interested in rebooting the Matrix franchise with writer Zak Penn, famous for Ready Player One, X-Men: The Last Stand. Following fan displeasure at the announcement, Penn himself revealed that the new film isn't a reboot of the original series, but in fact something else. Now Penn has gone on record with Green Rant to say that development continues on the Matrix reboot. The Matrix, the original film from 1999, is one of my all-time favourite movies. For originality, visuals, stunning visuals. Some of the effects we saw, that was, I think, first of its kind.
Yeah.
That kind of camera panning round when the characters were freeze framed. First time I saw that. The bullets rippling through the rainwater. The visuals alone were just absolutely amazing to watch. The characters were very interesting. I thought just keeping the film in the real world, or the Matrix as it was, kept it interesting enough for me. I wasn't very interested in all the stuff on the Nebuchadnezzar.
Wow.
That part of the film's sequences didn't really interest me. I'd seen all that before in films like Alien and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was really looking at these two characters in Neo and Morpheus, and looking at these programs that they developed for his training and all that. That's what really interested me. I thought that was amazing. And obviously, the agents as well, in the films were, they were great villains. I'm glad to see it's not going to be a remake. I'd hate to see that. I know there's been rumours about a Morpheus prequel story, which I think is a dreadful idea. But I'll let you in, John, for your own thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I agree about the original Matrix. I thought that was just a phenomenal film. I actually didn't mind the second one either with the twins. I think that was the one with the twins. That was an okay film. The third one was dreadful. Jesus Christ, what a way to end a great trilogy. Semi-good. Yeah, it was a travesty. But yeah, the first one with Hugo Weaving's playing the Agent Smith and him playing off with Neo, that was just classic. Mr. Anderson, that was just an often quoted little phrase that used to go about around about that time. And yeah, the visuals were groundbreaking, that bullet time thing, and him learning how to do the martial arts and everything, that was just amazing. And obviously it had a phenomenal cast as well, so it'll be very interesting to see if this does happen, what cast is going to be brought in. I think Keanu Reeves is semi-expressed interest in maybe coming back, but I think he wants the original writers and people that were on board, the Wachowskis, I believe they were called. He wants them to be involved in some capacity, and certainly Zak Penn, the guy who's pushing for it, doesn't seem to be having any collaboration with them, so I don't think Keanu's going to be coming back. In terms of the Morpheus origin story, I might be interested in that. It depends on how they get into play it. There was rumours about Michael B. Jordan. I know we had a chat, Stephen, about this before we came on, that it's kind of that thing in Star Wars where if there's a black character, it has to be related to another character, and then it's just this, I mean, it's semi-racist, isn't it? Where you have a black character, then he must be related to this one, or he must be played by this specific actor. They just can't seem to open up their minds. It was like the whole Lawrence Fishburne, Samuel L. Jackson, the early 2000s, late 90s. Every black character had to be played by Samuel or Lawrence Fishburne. This seems to be the same thing around about now. It's either Donald Glover or Michael B. Jordan. I can get on board with that, but I do like Michael B. Jordan as an actor, as I did see in my Black Panther review I done last week. I just think he's amazing. The guy just oozes utter class and talent. So if they could get a guy that calibre on to do it, then I would be very, very interested in seeing that. Certainly the Morpheus character wasn't really given much spotlight in the original Matrix films. It was very much Neo heavy. They didn't really explore his story at all. I think it was all mostly done off screen. So I would be interested in seeing that. I've got to be honest with you, that would be something that would pique my interest. Wouldn't want to see a reboot at all. And I think the Zak Penn's actually went on to say that if he was going to do this, then it would probably be something based around about the Animatrix. I think animated films. It was a series of 9 short films, which went into the backstory of Matrix. So he's heavily hinting that if the script does happen and it all works out, that it would be something built around the original films, but off exploring stories kind of to the side of the main arcs we've seen in those films. So I don't know what route they're going to go down. Depending on who they get on board, calibre of cast, calibre of directors and stuff, and it might pique my interest, it might not, as I said.
I remember that Animatrix coming out on DVD at the time. I think it was 2003 or something, 2004, John, and I was never sure. I'd never seen it, so I'm not really sure. Is that canon? Is it part of the story?
I always thought it was a kind of a what they do in Star Wars now with the comic book things at the side of the main films. It can be used as canon if you want to, but if you want to discard it completely like Lucas did with much of the expanded universe in Disney afterwards, then you can completely discard it.
Yeah, I mean the backstory of Morpheus in Niobe, I think it was played by Jada Pinkett Smith in the sequels. There was obviously a hint of history there between both characters, and I can't remember what the captain was called from the third film,
God.
but he was sort of the spare wheel, if you like.
Yeah.
There was obviously a bit of tension between him and Morpheus. That was enough for me. I've got to be honest. I'm not really interested in seeing too much of this character. Very much in the vein of the Han Solo film coming out. I don't really need to know. I like an element of mystery about a character, and I think in Morpheus's case, I had enough of what I needed to know from that character, what his beliefs were. And what the character was all about. To see it getting played out on film, I don't know if that would interest me. I do like the idea of I don't know what the word is. It's not reboot. It's not remake. I don't know what the word is. Very similar to what they're trying to do with the Men in Black franchise. Branch out into keep it in that same universe, if you like. I don't like using that phrase either, because it seems to be that all studios seem to be going down this road now. We've seen it succeed with Marvel, we've seen it flop with that whole monster universe or whatever it's called, the one with the mummy and all that.
Universal.
It just did not work at all. But it'll be interesting to see. I think it should be a bit more successful than the whole monster thing, because it's an established film franchise, and a lot of people still like the Matrix films. I did like the second one, but the first one's the standout for me. I don't know if it's just me, dumb or whatever. I just couldn't understand the third one. To this day, a lot of it just goes right over my head. I don't really know what's happening half the time. And the ending as well was a bit preachy as well, with the one portrayed as Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I mean, the third film actually released, I think, about 6 months after the second or something, didn't it? It was quite a quick release, so all felt rushed. I wasn't pleased with it at all. I thought it was a travesty. Another thing that was a travesty, Stephen, was the Monster Universe, what they've done with that. The Monster, Frankenstein, Jekyll and Hyde, all these amazing characters, and they've completely butchered that universe, so they should be slaughtered for that and getting the rights took off them for that. Certainly the last thing I'll say is Zak Penn. He's obviously involved in Ready Player One, which is coming out very shortly. So that'll maybe give us a hint at what we could expect for this new Matrix film when we get to see that. Because certainly he seems to be pro the generated world thing. So certainly if this film does happen, then it is going to be taking place more in the Matrix than on the ships outside, which is just dull and depressing. But just moving on, Stephen, to the final part of the show, which we just call Box Office Chat, where we just discuss the top 10 box office films in the UK for the previous weekend.
This is weekend of March 16th to 18th, John. 2018, by the way. Coming in at number 1 is Peter Rabbit in its first week. It grossed 7.3 million. This is, as I said, it's just been out the first week. A lot of the sort of trailers and stuff like that was at the very start of the year, as I recall. Starring James Corden. I think he's playing the lead, Peter Rabbit. One thing, I've said this before about James Corden, I'm not a big fan of his, as you know, John. One thing he is very good at is voice acting. The Emoji Movie was a terrible film. He wasn't the worst thing in it. Also, I think he played, I can't remember the character's name in Trolls, Biggie I think it was, memorable character. He has a knack for doing the voice acting, but as I said, I'm not a big fan of his, but there's some big names in there, you know. You get Sam Neill, Domhnall Gleeson, Colin Moody, Margot Robbie, Daisy Ridley, Rose Byrne.
She is in there as well, the singer.
Yeah, I mean, it's some cast, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this is very interesting, Stephen. Obviously looks very kid-friendly and orientated. The classic Beatrix Potter character, of course. I probably will go and watch this at some point. It does look very interesting, although the studio involves Sony. I'm not going to be on my Christmas card list, let's just say, after their antics a couple of weeks ago with us, Stephen. But yeah, we'll not get into that. But yeah, it looks interesting, and it's done very well, grossing 7 million in its opening weekend.
Yeah, this is based on the books, as you said, of Beatrix Potter, John. Peter Rabbit, played by James Corden, his 3 sisters, Flopsy, Margot Robbie, Mopsy, Elizabeth Debicki, and Cottontail, Daisy Ridley, and their cousin Benjamin, who is played by Colin Moody, enjoys their days harassing Mr. McGregor in his vegetable garden until one day he dies and no one can stop them roaming across his house and land for a full day or so. The actual Peter Rabbit animated series, I don't think it's the same people that make it. My daughter is a big fan of. She loves to watch this every morning before she goes to school. She's certainly looking forward to seeing this, although she does notice the difference in animation. Because it certainly is. The animation, the visuals in this look it's very similar to Paddington Bear, and you know, I think that's the way that these studios are going now with their animated, animals. They're very convincing. Still have that cartoon quality to them. They don't want to creep us out by making them look too real, but it's certainly one that I think I'll take my daughter to see. I know that it's shown in 23 theatres throughout Glasgow, so it's certainly widespread, and it's doing very well in its first week. Yeah,
I mean, it's shown in over 1,200 theatres, which is the most I've ever seen since we've been doing this, Stephen. But just moving on to number 2, it's Black Panther. It's been knocked off its perch in its 5th week at the box office. It's grossed 1.8 million for the weekend. It's went down nearly 40%, 39.1%. And it's grossed a total of 8 million, Stephen, because it's just shy of 42.8 million. Absolute monstrous release from Marvel and Disney. We've discussed this film quite a bit. I've done a review on it. I enjoyed it. There was some issues with it. I think the handling of the villains could have been much better. Killmonger should have been more prominent. The story was a little bit lacklustre. It felt a little bit smaller in scale than what we're probably grown accustomed to in other standalone Marvel films and just Marvel films in general, but it was a great film and it's deserving of its gross.
One thing I will say, John, is that as much as I like the film, I don't have any inclinations to go back to the cinema and see it. I think that's based on the story. The acting and the characters were fantastic, but the story just was a bit underwhelming to me. I think that's a phrase I've used quite a lot, since I saw the film a few weeks ago. But yeah, I mean, it's in its 5th week in the box office, and as you said, I didn't think Peter Rabbit would be the one to knock it off, I've got to be honest. But just moving on to number 3 in this week's box office, it's The Great Showman. It's been there since the turn of the year. It's still there. Last weekend it grossed 1.1 million, totalling 38.2 million.
Stephen, I says about 6 weeks ago I better get along and see this before it drops out the cinemas. It's still in the top 10. Good Lord, I'm not discussing it. I'm done with it. It was a good film. I'm done. I'm away. I'm finished. Move on to number 4, and this is one that I just seen today, and it's Red Sparrow, and it's grossed 590,000 for the weekend. It's dropped nearly 50%. Its 3rd weekend, it's grossed a total of 5.2 million now. I enjoyed this film, Stephen. I know you've not seen it yet, but I did enjoy it. I enjoyed Jennifer Lawrence's portrayal, performance. I also enjoyed Joel Edgerton. Brutal, absolutely brutal in points. There's some moments of violence which took me aback. I wasn't expecting it. Certainly one involving a golf club in the theatre. It was incredibly violent. And one involving skin getting peeled off at the end. It was great. There was an amazing twist at the end too, which I thoroughly enjoyed, which I'll not get into, maybe because it will spoil it for some people who have not seen it, but I did enjoy this more than I thought I would. The score was unbelievable and some of the visuals were incredible too. So I'm actually surprised it's doing as lacklustre as it is, because it's not doing terrible, but only 5 million after 3 weeks it's not great.
Yeah, still to get round to seeing it, John. I will get round to see it. It's certainly a genre that I do enjoy, and I do expect some gory scenes in there.
Oh, there is.
Yep, it's certainly one that I'm going to go and see. Looking forward to seeing. And just moving on to number 5 in the box office this week, it's Game Night, which has grossed 500,000 over the weekend. Overall 3.7 million in its third week.
Yeah, I've not got a huge amount to say about this one, Stephen, because I have not seen it, and I don't think I'm going to get round to seeing it either, because with some of the competition out just now and coming out in the next few weeks, I don't see it happening. But yeah, it's grossed 3.6 million after 3 weeks. It's doing fine for a film of its size. I wasn't even aware it existed until maybe 3-4 weeks ago. I don't know how that happened, but it went right under my radar. The concept seems interesting enough, but yeah, I'm not going to go and see it.
It's one of the films I'll just wait for to see on Sky Movies. Just moving on to number 6, it's The Shape of Water, grossing over the weekend 300,000, overall 7 million in its 5th week. There's not much more we can say about this film either, John.
No.
But it's still in there. I think a few weeks ago it was actually at the tail end of the chart. But it's I think since the Academy Awards it's had a lease of life. Just moving on to number 7, John. Unless you've got anything to add to The Shape of Water.
No, I've not.
Oh, it's okay. Just moving on to number 7. We've got Lady Bird. Similar to The Shape of Water, it's grossed 300,000 over the weekend, totaling 4.6 million in 4 weeks. Now, I watched this again last week, and I've got to say, I don't know if I should say I didn't enjoy it as much, because it's still an enjoyable film. It just wasn't. It's one of the films I think, once you've seen it, it's one of these coming of age films. It has a few wee twists. I think once you've seen it for the first time, and you know what to expect, it's not got the same appeal to it, but nevertheless it's still a good film. Well acted by Saoirse Ronan as the title character Lady Bird, and Laurie Metcalf playing the mother. She was up for Best Supporting Actress. Unfortunately, didn't win, but she was probably the standout in the film. Big fan of her comedy characters and Roseanne and The Big Bang Theory, but nevertheless, it's an enjoyable film.
I've not seen it, Stephen, so I can't possibly add anything to that. But moving on to number 8, we have Finding Your Feet, which has grossed 280,000 for the weekend, and it's grossed a total of 4.4 million. It's been out 4 weeks, much like Lady Bird. I've not seen it. I can't really add to it. It's doing okay.
Yeah, this was a film I'm sure I predicted would be out the charts after a few weeks.
It's been a quiet week.
Shows you how much I know, but just coming in, the last 2 entries into the box office certainly do appeal to me. First of all, this is one that we talked about when we saw the trailer a few months back, John. It was Michael Caine that was presenting it. It's My Generation.
Yeah, this intrigues me as well, Stephen. It's grossed 259,000, but as well saying 260,000, and it's in its opening week, so that is its total gross as well. It's very interesting. Obviously, it's Michael Caine's look back at his youthful days as one of the London It Boys, and just the whole rise of pop culture, the working class people in that 60s decade. Yeah, it's very interesting. Can't wait to watch it and see all the little bits of tidbits and stuff, all these array of stars that appear in this, I've got to say.
Listen, I think it's doing very well for a documentary. You don't normally see documentaries doing that well in the UK box office, but The thing that intrigues me is that it was written by Dick Clement and Ian Lafrenis. Now, I've been a big fan of theirs since the Lighty Lads. Whatever happened to the Lighty Lads? Porridge, Ovidasen Pet, list goes on. Brilliant writers. I would go as far as saying that they're national treasures. And this is one of the reasons, apart from obviously, you know, the I was going to say cast, but it's not really cast. It's, you know, people giving their sort of insight into that period in time. David Bailey's, Joan Collins, etc. Probably Twiggy's in there as well.
Yes, yes.
Paul McCartney. You know, they'll all be in there. The ones that were around that time. All the.
But no Mick O'Keefe.
No Mick.
Nick's too busy shining up his knighthood.
And it's directed by David Batty. So certainly looking forward to this, John. And just moving on to number 10. This is a film that I don't think it's going to go down well in the west of Scotland. This is Mary Magdalene. This came out, I think it's only 9 theatres here. This only grossed £200,000 over the weekend. It isn't in its first week, but it's not looking good for Mary Magdalene, is it?
Yeah, it's not going to do well in the west of Scotland, Stephen. We've got a scene here, and it's so fitting for what this film's performance at the box office in Glasgow is going to be. It'll go down like a lead balloon. Jesus. Yeah. Who's in this, incidentally? Yeah, I mean, the film looks interesting to me, Stephen. Joaquin Phoenix is in here, isn't he? I always like a film with Joaquin. I think he's a great actor. I'm very intrigued with it, but I just don't see it doing well in Scotland. It's too divisive. Scotland's a very divisive country when it comes to religion. But I mean, don't have much more to add to it, Stephen. I've not seen it yet, but judging by the trailers, it did look interesting. It looked like a great period piece, focusing on Mary Magdalene and her interest in life as one of Jesus' closest companions throughout his journey. So yeah, I mean, I can't add much more, but it's very interesting. Very, very interesting. I'll go and see this at some point, maybe. But again, there's a lot of competition coming out, so maybe I won't.
Yeah, Rooney Mara playing the title. Very good actress. Yeah, it's one of those ones I think I'll get round to seeing. I don't know if I'll rush out to theatres to see it, but it's one of those ones. It's not got the sort of pull the Passion of the Christ had, you know, over a decade ago, Mel Gibson's film. I don't know if that's just because of, you know, who it's based on. You know, it's going to centre around. Maybe not a lot of people that are religious know the story of Mary Magdalene. Maybe that's what it is. Whereas, you know, with Jesus Christ, you know, whether or not you're a believer or a follower or whatever you want to call it, and Jesus Christ is a person or a thing. So it's one of those ones I'll probably get around to seeing. But as I said, I'll not rush out to see it.
Yeah, I mean, with the films coming out in the next week, Stephen, certainly 2 that'll catch my eye. Ready Player One and Isle of Dogs. It's got a lot of competition. But who knows, we shall see. And that rounds up this week's box office chat and indeed episode 24 of the Movie Burner podcast. We'd like to thank you for listening once again, and we'll be back next week. Remember guys, if you're enjoying the content we're putting out, then do subscribe to us on YouTube at Movie Burner Entertainment and on iTunes and Google Play at the Movie Burner Podcast, whilst also giving us a little follow on Facebook and Twitter at Movie Burners. You can also catch up with all the latest reviews we're putting out on the Movie Burner blog at movieburnerentertainment.org. Until the next time, goodbye.